It used to be the top 1% of earners, here in red, owned a relatively small portion of the country's wealth. Middle and lower earners in blue had the largest share. Then, 15 years ago... Oh, hi. You've caught me watching Frontline's expose on big tech's ongoing abuse of public trust. Oh, yeah, and I'm looking at the sun on 193 angstroms. Welcome to the daily space weather. And sorry if you don't like the music. But, there it is. Don't worry, we'll be turning the volume down in a minute. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's get started looking at this 193 angstrom view. And, yeah, we see coronal holes associated with the South Pole here, a diffuse system down here, as well as another one rotating in here near the equator. We are expecting the coronal hole wind stream from this coronal hole system to arrive at some point today, or probably most likely tomorrow evening. But coming soon is the coronal hole wind stream from that. And we see an ongoing phi angle shift now. If you're using the SDO site today, I notice it's quite slow. Even yesterday it was actually very slow. Probably because of Mercury's transit. Tons of people are accessing the information, writing stories about the Mercury transit and all that sort of stuff. So we're looking at this former sunspot 2752, now degraded into a plage. We see 0 sunspots. And like I said, we see a coronal hole magnetic connection. We finally saw an end to the earthquake 7 magnitude drought, ending yesterday near Indonesia in the Molucca Sea. So there's a ton of stuff to cover. Let's move on to the X-ray flux, which is totally flatlined. Haven't seen a B-class flare since first day of October. There it is. As solar minimum conditions rage on, or unrage on, I guess you could say. Here's the Enlil prediction, and you can see they're predicting the increase in the velocity from the incoming coronal hole wind stream to be hitting around when we shoot the video tomorrow morning on the 16th of November. So expect an increase in the solar wind velocity then, probably bringing it up to maybe a KP of 3, maybe a KP of 2. Not expecting a very high significance of that. Here's this ongoing magnetic connection we see with one or both of those coronal hole systems, as we have this ongoing signal around 180 degrees on the phi angle. Solar wind density has just kicked up to 6.34 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 339 kilometers a second. Still a solar minimum style wind speed. And let's keep an eye on that solar wind density throughout the day, as when we see that drop off, we expect the speed to come up, as that is already the beginning, the leading edge of that coronal hole wind stream, which is typically associated with an uptick in the density, while the speed remains flat. Anyway, there's the ACE data. Magnetosphere is looking real weak. I mean, we've covered it much weaker than this, but still very weak, despite the small uptick in solar wind density over the past few hours. That's all reflected in this geospace magnetosphere movie. And next we're bringing it to the geospace ground magnetic perturbations. And there are the ground perturbations, of which we don't see very many. And we are talking about delta B. Thanks, new viewers, by the way, for tuning in. We do appreciate your patronage. Anyway, there are the changes as reported by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. This has got tons of variables to get this data, folks. If you want to read about it, we've got links. Head to this page, just scroll down, click on details, and you'll have all the information available to you there about how it's derived. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, a fairly proportional proxy to sunspot number in terms of solar activity, is looking still at solar minimum. Let's hope it doesn't get back down to 64 when we covered it down there. It's currently at 70, right where we drew in this orange line as a visual aid. Magnetometer is finally smoothed out, and welcome to the North Pole-oriented portion of the heliospheric current sheet. And here it is, the heliospheric current sheet. This is this Gong 2 data, 1 hour and 48 minutes old, showing the Earth's field force line solidly in the North Pole associated portion there, shown in green. And that active region is still showing no sunspots. We saw it pick up in intensity a little bit yesterday, show a little bit of field complexity, and that just died right back down. Never formed another umbra, so it didn't get renamed a sunspot. KP index is at 0, with an average of in between 0 and 1 over the past 18 hours. We're going to skip cosmic rays again today. Look at our video 2 days ago for that if you want to see what was going on then, or click the links below the video. We've left links to this site here, network of cosmic ray stations, some of those sending back 5-minute updated data. Electron flux is looking pretty low. We're expecting to see this crater as this coronal hole wind stream hits. And that's just the way it works. One of the signatures of the coronal hole wind streams, folks. And the relativistic electrons up there are looking pretty nominal in their range, shown here on the graph. And nowhere near where we saw them in August of 2018, where they were very high. Now, the ionosphere has been looking anomalous for the past at least 3 days. We see a massive charge disparity in the Pacific Ocean. Charged up areas in the southern hemisphere, as well as anomalously discharged areas in the northern hemisphere. Again, you can see these oddities around the central Pacific Ocean region. We even see some discharged sun-facing portions of the ionosphere. Perhaps not a coincidence that that 7 magnitude earthquake kicked off. As we know, there seem to be connections. Let's talk about some terrible news. South Korea slaughters 380,000 pigs after African swine flu crosses border. This is a huge problem, and we've left links to this article also from Zero Hedge. Shout out to David Dubine. We'll send you a link directly on Skype. Has it affected commodities prices? Well, it certainly looks like it has. As we see a sudden spike here, looks like prices have leveled off in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange as the global demand for pork is it's going to be good for Asian pig farmers. Let's just say that and move on. That's cnbc.com/markets, by the way, if you want to check that out. Here's where this 7 magnitude quake kicked off in the Molucca Sea, in between these 2 Indonesian islands here. I didn't see anything about a tsunami, so that's good news. Let's look at the rest of the list on the USGS site. And we're going to have to blast through this one and truncate the list a little bit, as we expect to see a ton of aftershocks in that same area. Let's focus on quakes that aren't in the same area. Here is a 5.2 at Afghanistan, the largest one we've seen there in quite a while, actually. Probably capable of causing some damage. Please leave a comment if you view these videos from the Middle East, as we would be surprised to see that. Now, here's an Indonesian quake not associated with that 7.1 magnitude. Located at a different spot, this one in the extreme western portion of Indonesia. And a 4.3 right in that same area. Here we see a deep quake at extreme depth, 599 kilometers at Fiji. Here's a quake nearby to that 7 magnitude quake, but not on the same spot. Here's another quake in Indonesia. And there's that 7.1, that one coming in at 1617. And thanks, Texas Rancher, for informing us of that, as we don't sit around watching, we don't sit around looking at the USGS site all day, as I don't want to pull my hair out by the roots. We also see a 4.8 there. There's an aftershock from that 7+ magnitude quake. There's another aftershock at 5.0, and we're just going to skip the aftershocks here, as we don't want the video to be too long. Now, here's a quake at a different location. This one closer to India. That one at 128 kilometers depth. Perhaps the earthquake warning should not be exhausted there. Here's a 5.8 magnitude aftershock, adding insult to injury. 4.4 at Chile is next on the list. And by the way, I was wrong about where I thought the 7 magnitude earthquake drought would end. I was saying Western South America. So, hey, I calls them like I sees them, and when I'm incorrect, I'm the first to admit it. If you want to be right 99% of the time or more, admit when you're wrong. It will help. There's another aftershock. There's another aftershock. Another aftershock. 5.4, 5.3, and here's a deep quake in western South America at Peru. That was where I was predicting the 7 magnitude earthquake drought to end, but it happened in Indonesia instead. There's another aftershock at a 5.3. By the way, that Peruvian quake was deep at 108 kilometers. Another aftershock. Here's a 6 magnitude aftershock, and another deep quake at Fiji, 4.7 magnitude at 552 kilometers depth. More aftershocks of 4.8 and 5.3 respectively. Here's another aftershock. Aftershock, aftershock, aftershock. All in the same area there. Another aftershock. Here's a 5.9 magnitude aftershock coming in at 1:17 this morning, as it is still rocking over there. Here's a deep quake just north of that area at the Philippines. That one 4.5 magnitude at 178 kilometers depth. Another deep quake there, folks. Blot Echo Range. How about a 4.8 at the Philippines? That one farther north. 4.5 at Indonesia. And talk about a seismic hotspot. Another 5.0 magnitude aftershock in the region of that 7.1 magnitude. 4.6 aftershock, 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 aftershock. And the list is getting very long. We're going to stop calling them out. Here's a deep quake south of the location of that big quake. 4.5 magnitude, 102 kilometers depth. Here's a 4.5 aftershock. Here's an unassociated quake, 4.8 magnitude, as that plate is one rockin' plate. That one coming at 654 UT. Here's a Macedonian quake at depth. Shout out Eastern European viewers. Please leave a comment if you're viewing from someplace in Eastern Europe, especially South. Shout out Darksy. Are you viewing from Croatia? Last on the list is coming in just as we did show prep here, a 5.0 magnitude aftershock at the same site of that location. Let's zoom in just to show you how many quakes have happened there before we move on to more stuff, as there's plenty of stuff to cover. By the way, if you want to download the free music, if you want to stream the free music or download it for about $1 a track, check out soundclick.com/goldencapproductions. And we apologize if you're fast-forwarding our entire videos. Fast-forwarding any sections that have music and referring to them as noise. Cheers. Volcano rundown. Shivaluch, still some remnant ash there. Mount Aso producing an 8,000-foot ash plume there. Sakurajima exploding, 9,000-foot ash plume there. Sanjiang Api, 8,000-foot ash plume there. Dakono exploding, 7,000-foot plume there. Sangay, 20,000-foot explosive ash plume there. Revenador exploding for months. Who knows, years perhaps. 16,000-foot ash plume there. Sabancaya exploding, 25,000-foot ash plume there. And continuous emissions from Novatos de Chilean. Here's where stuff is in the solar system, if you were wondering. There's where it'll be in 1 week. As we approach another new moon. Here's where stuff is above my head. Check out in-the-sky.org. They've got all kinds of interesting tools over there. For instance, you could even break out the universe in 3D. Let's just show you another thing that they have here. Check it out. The universe in 3D. You can look for specific objects, like M87, for instance, and it'll zoom out for you and show you where that is in terms of the local group. It's not great, but it does give you some ability to see what's going on. I don't know what happened there. Something went wrong. Anyway, I use in-the-sky.org for my animated sky charts. Just put in your location. While I'm not in Allentown technically, it's close enough. as we are located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Now, I've taken it as a mission to read about one star every day, at least one star. It's something I've been forcing myself to do, and to learn more about the local stellar region inside the Milky Way. So today, I've basically randomly picked Ross 128, a star that's not even visible to the naked eye. It's a red dwarf. It's quite dim, and it's not very bright, but it's a very close star. So read about Ross 128 if you like. It's 11.007 light years, measured by using parallax, a much more accurate measurement of a star's location than using redshift. Obviously, we can't use redshift for very distant we can't use parallax for very distant objects, as it involves the Earth going around the sun. But closer objects are very accurately measurable using parallax. This is not believed to have a planetary system around it. And there's a reason we don't cover exoplanets, folks. And we won't get into it today, but there's a reason why we don't cover exoplanets. Now, we've also linked to this Wikipedia article, which has a lovely 3D animation. If you've got 3D red-green glasses, maybe check this out. But it's a great list of nearest stars and brown dwarfs. So there's your whole list. And I thought I had this zoomed out, but there's the whole list of the local stars, of which there are like 50-some. And we're talking about stars that lie within 16.3 light years of the sun. So this is the list we're going to be looking at stars from every day on the channel. So stay tuned for that in upcoming videos. Also look for clips to be coming out on YouTube where you don't even see these full-length videos, you only see sections. This way people don't have to fast forward through all sections that contain our music and then tell us about it, advertise other channels in our comment section. Were you aware that the ancient Neo-Assyrian Empire failed due to climate change? Oh yeah. So they had an extremely wet period, which is believed to have propped up the empire due to its ability to farm. And then they had an extremely dry period, which caused the entire empire to collapse and strengthen its enemies, as this was a very warlike effort, this empire, and it was taken over all the neighboring kingdoms. It was arguably the world's most powerful superpower at the time. Have a read on Science Alert about what happened to the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Shout out Electric View, people. We got some more interesting stories to cover today. But first, look at lightningmaps.org. And here's where the lightning strikes are happening in real time at 4:28 a.m. Eastern Standard. Here is the U.S. Doppler radar. And it looks like the snow has finally ceased in most of the U.S., where it's so hot that it's cold. Now, please everybody, pardon my sarcasm and stop producing so much CO2. You're making the planet so hot that it's cold. And I'm not going to say anything else. Now, I was looking for some satellite images, and I found this site. This is totally unvetted, but I invite our viewers to go check it out. 15 free satellite imagery data sources, as there are a bunch of satellites all around the world. And so check these out, perhaps. I really haven't gotten through this at all yet. Let us know what you think of those links in the comments section, if you wouldn't mind. Here's a satellite photo of burning Australia. Now, we did a video about this yesterday, and here are some images courtesy SciTech Daily. The Copernicus Sentinel-3 captured multiple brush fires, and these look significant enough to actually affect the weather, folks. Yes, that's right. While global warming alarmists are going to tell you that brush fires are caused by carbon dioxide or something ridiculous like that, those of you who understand the distinction between your you-know-what and a hole in the ground are aware that carbon dioxide is not flammable. And let's not even get into the radiative heating effect and the way thermodynamics works or anything like that. But let's talk about the video we did yesterday. Shout out to Kimberly. Here's a clip from yesterday's video where we talked about Australia's brush fire situation.
95,000 in the area.
So check that out. We've left links to this video below this video as well, if you haven't watched it yet. They need volunteers. So if you're located in Eastern Australia, please volunteer to be some sort of a support service. Even if you're unable to go jump into a fire. Now, I would personally go jump into a fire because I'm the most fiery of the fire signs, folks. And fire is my pal. And I don't know, I guess I'm not technically a pyromaniac. Anyway, here are the pressure maps. So check that out. As many of you may be aware, I am an Aries. And while I don't really necessarily believe in astrological characteristics, I seem to have the characteristics. Anyway, there's where stuff in terms of pressure is expected to be in about 24 hours. Let's move on to more stuff, as there's plenty of stuff to cover yet, such as the U.S. water vapor map, rather, courtesy the NASA GOES interactive weather satellites. We've got links in the description to it if you want to go check it out yourself. And high pressure in control. The snow has finally stopped. Please leave comments and let us know how much snow you got now that it's finally stopped to pile up. We're going to try to do a video this afternoon and show the satellite data about how white the ground is. As we're never able to view visible satellites on this channel, we always transmit our videos when it's dark out. And if you're wondering why, sorry, that's classified. Anyway, here are the jet streams in the eastern world, and talk about meridional jet stream flow. Check out that area, the northern Middle East. Extreme meridional jet stream flow, 180-degree turns, and jet streams going east to west instead of west to east. This is what's causing the weird weather everywhere, folks. It's not because of CO2. Here's the western world's jet streams, and man, oh man, I have a feeling we're going to be hearing about how hot it is in Greenland. And we'll just let other channels cover that, as I don't want to sit around talking about snow for 2 hours. And welcome everybody to the vulgarity-free section, known as That Is Censored, and that is a sinkhole, where we encourage people to understand the distinction between their and a hole in the ground. Let's talk about IPTF14HLS. And basically, the only comment I have is that since all stars are variable stars, stars do not gravitationally collapse and do work on themselves, violating at least 3 of the 4 rules of thermodynamics. Why is it that in the center of every supernoval remnant there is a star illuminating the supernoval remnant? It's because supernovas don't destroy the stars stay there. And all stars either nova or have the capacity to nova, and we simply don't have enough data to suggest otherwise. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to tell you what was going on in the universe 13 billion years ago, as if they're able to observe that. But this is a very interesting star because it has hyperwind, and astronomers are unable to figure out how it's able to produce the kind of output that it does. Discovered in 2014, it's an unusual Type 2P supernova. And anyway, it's had some interesting emissions. Sadly, this one is not at the Neil Gorel Swift Observatory. The Burst Alert Telescope, that's what the BAT stands for. It's the Hard X-ray Transients Monitor. We've left links to that for you to monitor all your favorite transients. And let's talk about the Big Bang. Actually, first, let's talk about this star, which exploded, survived, and then exploded again after 60 years. It's like, hey, it's a supernova. Supernovas cause stars to explode and cease to exist. Except they don't cease to exist. They continue to exist. And let's just say this creates challenges for gravitational accretion, Big Bang, internal fusion dynamo inside of stars models. And thank goodness for that, as the real science is starting to finally overshadow the non-science, as every star is a variable star. There's no such thing as a stable one, folks. If the environment around the star changes, the star is going to change. And have you supported our channel via Patreon? Now, we're looking for more associate producers. We are in the process of expanding the operation in a lot of different ways behind the scenes. If you think the channel's stagnating, think again. We have a certain format for a certain reason, and we have to have incentives to do everything that we do. So look for constant changes coming, shorter videos, longer videos, interviews, etc. Patreon.com/smAsho is the real funding for this channel, as certain giant tech corporations don't pay us anything to make these videos. They pay us absolutely nothing. They show you ads. So thanks, Smash Team, for viewing regardless, as these servers do host most of our content. And stay tuned for some bonus features, as there's still plenty of stuff to talk about, such as this insane deep field image that I found on my hard drive. Now, this is a Hubble image from 2009. And in the coming days, I'm going to do some deep zooms on some of these objects, because there are interesting things, to say the least. Let's give you a teaser. Now, we're in paint now, and let me switch the view. And anyway, we see all kinds of giant structures in here. We're going to figure out what part of the sky this is, because fortunately I saved the file name as the original file name. Look at these giant Birkeland currents. This is most assuredly a composite image, including X-ray, visible light, and radio frequency. And let's get back to the main content here before we make the video too long. Now, I was joking around about watching this Frontline video about the age of AI. A very interesting video talking about how China is expecting to be the world leader in artificial intelligence by the year 2030 and surpassing the US by 2025, I believe, is their time frame. We've left links to this video also, as I always find it interesting to keep track of tech, as I started out my college career as a computer programmer, and I got the heck out of there because I saw the writing on the science wall back in the mid-90s, folks. Let's talk about Nobel Prize winning astrophysicist James Peebles. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics for helping transform the field of cosmology into a respected science. But guess what? He doesn't believe in the Big Bang. Why doesn't he believe in the Big Bang? Because the Big Bang is not science. In order to do science, what you do is you create a hypothesis, and then you observe. You see something in nature. You create a hypothesis for it that you can test by observing other things in nature, and then you observe those other things, and then you refine your hypothesis into a theory, and then you repeat that, and you try to disprove your theory. A giant cataclysmic explosion causing the universe to form and expand and yada 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 13.8 billion years ago, or whatever the latest estimation it is not science. It's, I don't even know what you call it. But anyway, we don't usually link to Yahoo News articles, but since Yahoo is one of the largest news sources in the world, we decided to allow this one today and not send our viewers to like the same websites every day. Were you aware that folks have been using ancient eclipse records, historical eclipse records, to attempt to calculate the Earth's spin as Earth's rotation changes, with things like sea level rise and fall? At least it's anticipated to. Here's one article about it. Astronomers using ancient eclipse records to solve a cosmic mystery. As there are some, let's just say, anomalies in the way the Earth's rotation seems to be changing over time. And we're not going to get too much into that, but links to that article below the video as well. Now, we haven't talked about the smAsho mission for a long time. We have created a website or two. smAshomash.org and smAshomash.com are things. We have a forum already. It's just not linked properly or set up really. Look for that coming soon. We did use it to post our mission. Links to this as well below the video. The mission is to assist, study, and report on an ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects, to connect and consult with media organizations, hence the existence of these videos. That multiplies our reach, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof-of-concept solutions to problems, and those will be different, varied, and coming out on the daily, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, including sciences such as spectroscopy, chemistry, astrophysics, health, wellness, longevity, cosmology, biology, magnetohydrodynamics, geology, etc. Basically, general hard sciences. To assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomena in order to optimize value, reduce risk and liability, save lives and resources, and adapt no matter what the adversity is. And yeah, I mean no matter what the adversity is, including a Carrington event. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs, and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. So if you agree with our mission, please check us out at patreon.com. You'll get updates first, you get some free media, and even if you hate the music, maybe you'll like the ringtones, I don't know. Perhaps we'll even provide custom graphics. Who knows? There's no limit to what we can do. And we are experts in the world of digital media. I've been producing graphics, audio, video for around 20 years now, actually. And look for a bunch of lists and links. We're gonna have a frame around this, and there's gonna be a bunch of links here in the stars coming up in the next week or so. Did you hear that, smAsho staff? That's a call to action. And stay tuned, viewers, for one bonus feature. Again, folks, the SDO site's running a little slowly today. Here's the 94 angstroms view. We saw some massive plasma sprites on this thing yesterday, and that's part of the reason I'm looking at this view. Yesterday when we were talking to Kimberly, we saw a giant plasma sprite. It's actually covered in the video, so check that out if you like. Here's the southern region. We're looking at about 9 hours here. I believe it's 8 hours and 45 minutes. Here's the kind of plasma sprite I was talking about. I think I see one there. Gotta pause this. All right, show you how to ship. Now we see an object over here, and that is an odd-looking one. Perhaps some ejecta right under my pointer there. Perhaps an alien spacecraft. Leave a comment if you think that's a Borg cube. It would have to be about the size of a planet. Let's reanimate that and call it a day. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance, and since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back and that atherosclerosis absent from your veins.